Welcome to Live from Mars, your weekly pop music podcast that goes into the latest and greatest new songs that came out each week, breaking music industry news, and a deep dive each time. My name is Alex. You may know me as Mars from TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, this podcast, hopefully wherever you found me. Welcome. And today's episode is going to be a jam-packed one, and I know I say this almost every week, but so much actually happened this week. We've got new music from Miley Cyrus, Calvin Harris, Kali Uchis, The Weeknd. I went to a special Miley Cyrus X Spotify fan event where I got to see the entire Miley Cyrus Something Beautiful visual film and album. It's one of the most incredible experiences I've had in the music industry so far. I was quite literally 5 feet away from Miley Cyrus and made eye contact with her. It was truly a dream come true, an experience I never thought I would have. So again, none of that would have been possible without you guys. So thank you for listening each week. Thank you for paying attention to the content we create here. And then our special deep dive of the week is going to be a fun game that I play with special guest Nick Fry, who goes by Nick's Music Taste over on TikTok, Instagram, wherever. Nick is a fellow music content creator, and we went through all of the albums that you guys think are 10 out of 10 albums to give our thoughts on them and what we think are actually 10 out of 10 albums. So stay tuned for that. But before we kick things off, if you are not already following and subscribed to Live from Mars, the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, it would mean the absolute world to me if you do so. I see these metrics and I know you guys are listening, but I know a lot of you are not yet following. So I'd really appreciate it if you did that. That is how we get the podcast to continue growing. That is how we get more special guests like Nick to come on. And if you're feeling extra generous, throw Live from Mars a 5-star review on any platform. It means the absolute world to me. Enough rambling. Let's get into the meat because there's so much good stuff to get through. So let's kick things off with the best of this week's New Music Friday. So this week's New Music Friday unexpectedly became a very big one. We have new releases from Miley Cyrus, The Weeknd featuring Doechii. You got a new Kali Uchis album. You have a new song from Calvin Harris. You have a new album from Maren Morris. There's a bunch of new singles thrown in here, but I'm going to focus on a few of them today. Let's kick things off with the new Miley Cyrus single, More to Lose. And I can't talk about More to Lose without talking about the incredible fan event that I attended with Spotify. Myself and a few hundred other lucky Miley Cyrus fans got to see the entire Something Beautiful visual album. In case you're not up to speed with it, Miley Cyrus's new album, Something Beautiful, is dropping May 30th. We have 4 songs of the 13 so far, including Prelude, the title track, Something Beautiful, End of the World, which has really been pushed as the first official single, and now we have the ballad, More to Lose. Here's a quick snippet of it.
But I wish it wasn't true. I knew someday that one would have to choose. I just thought we had more to lose.
So the fan event was absolutely incredible. The theater marquee said Something Beautiful. There was a whole Something Beautiful candy wall where we were allowed to take a candy, a popcorn with a Something Beautiful popcorn tin, a drink from the fridge. There was a full open bar with special cocktails themed to the Something Beautiful album. And then we went into the theater and were greeted by Matt Peterson. Matt is an incredible content creator. He is hysterical to watch. And he revealed to us that we were not actually just going to listen to the Something Beautiful album, but we were going to watch it. So for all 13 songs, it's essentially a music video for each one, and they bleed into one another. It's not necessarily like an acting movie. She's not acting in this, but it's kind of like Beyonce's visual albums where there's a central kind of aesthetic and theme, but each one doesn't necessarily have a plot. And my first impression review of the entire album is up on my TikTok and Instagram pages. Go check that out if you haven't seen it yet. But this album is going to blow your minds. If you are a Miley Cyrus fan, if you are a pop music fan, Something Beautiful is going to be something truly worth absorbing every single ounce of. Miley worked so meticulously to craft this vision, and she spent a lot of money to make this high budget. It looks high budget. It sounds high budget. I love the way that the vocals are produced on More to Lose and the whole album. The production feels rich and glossy and rough at the same time, and there's a ton of experimental moves. She's pushing her own boundaries as far as she did with Dead Pets, if not further in some songs. I was completely wowed by this project. I really think that it could be her best album yet. Once I hear the actual official version with my own headphones, I can give a more proper review, but it's incredible. Some of the songs I'm still thinking about days later are Walk of Fame and Reborn. Walk of Fame is wild. And then Reborn reminded me a ton of like In the Zone era Britney, Blackout Britney. So it's really up my alley. I really, really hope you guys love this album as much as I am so far. But let's talk about More to Lose specifically. More to Lose enters the canon of Miley Cyrus great ballads. You have Never Be Me from Plastic Hearts. You have Slide Away, the one-off single. You have The Climb from Hannah Montana. You have Angels Like You. I am incredibly impressed with this song. I think the production is so beautiful. It starts off incredibly calm and soft, and then as the song progresses, you get key changes, you get a saxophone solo in here, it becomes larger and more cinematic. Miley's vocals on this one are so beyond impressive, the way that she's able to stretch her voice, and she'll always have one of those vocal tones that just itches something in my brain that no one else really can. So this one is very much sitting at home with me. I'm enjoying it a lot. I am, though, curious to see how it performs commercially. So something with the Something Beautiful era so far feels a little bit off with its touch on the commercial element. Flowers was obviously this gargantuan hit for Miley, the biggest she's ever had. And then something's going on with End of the World that I just can't really figure out why it's not connecting the way that myself and many others expected it to. It has Song of the Summer pretty much written all over it. It's bringing in elements of ABBA from the 70s and disco and funk and groove in there. It's an electrifying song, but with End of the World not charting as well as many expected it to, More to Lose is a very different angle for her team to push. It's obviously a ballad, but Miley ballads tend to do pretty well. Look at The Climb. Angels Like You became this huge sleeper hit. And with Miley really maturing over the last few years vocally, to position her as a true singer here right now, telling a very vulnerable, emotional story with More to Lose's lyrics, I'm curious to see if this one connects better. I don't know with 100% certainty if it will from a commercial angle, but as a fan, I'm very happy to have it. So that's Miley Cyrus, More to Lose. If you have any more questions about Something Beautiful, if you have any questions about the visual film, make sure you drop a comment, let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them. Also new this week as part of New Music Friday is The Weeknd featuring Doechii and Playboi Carti on a new remix of the Weeknd song Timeless. Now, Timeless is a song off the album Hurry Up Tomorrow that came out at the very end of January, but Timeless came out as a single back in September of last year, and it's been by far the best performing single from Hurry Up Tomorrow so far. As of today, it's sitting at number 22 on the global Spotify charts. It's still charting in the US. Cry For Me, which was pushed as the next radio single when the album came out, is not doing that. I think it's the combination of Timeless playing more into the R&B hip-hop lane of The Weeknd rather than the glossy synth pop of A Dancing in the Flames, which wasn't even included on the album in the end, and the fact that Playboi Carti is on it. He's a huge force in hip-hop music right now. And adding Doechii to it makes sense from a commercial angle. Doechii has had this huge blow up over the last few months, especially with her wins at the Grammys this year. Her song Anxiety is likely to be a Song of the Summer contender. Doechii is the new it girl when it comes to female rappers, and I understand why she was put on this remix, but my question is why the Timeless remix and why now? So additional backstory here is that The Weeknd is actually releasing a full-length feature film called Hurry Up Tomorrow that is coming out this week, I believe on Friday. The promotional rollout is beginning, and he's kicking off what feels like the 100th leg of the After Hours Till Dawn tour. I saw this tour back in July 2022, and I'm seeing it again in June 2025. But my issue with the Timeless remix is, one, Doechii's verse isn't really adding anything so instrumental and so powerful to it. It feels like any other run-of-the-mill verse. It doesn't necessarily feel like Doechii's best. And then my question is, why not put out a remix of a new single to push from the album with the new leg of the tour starting, with the movie coming out? Timeless, yes, it's still performing incredibly well on the charts. It's by far and large the best performing song from this era for him, but Doechii has so much star power right now, as does The Weeknd on his own, that this felt like a missed opportunity to have a collaboration with Doechii and put it on a single that could be a new breath of fresh air into this era that it kind of desperately needs. I'm thinking a song like Open Hearts is a great song that should be a single at some point that could really benefit from a Doechii verse. You also have the album opener, Wake Me Up, which is very Michael Jackson thrillery. If you haven't heard it yet, definitely give it a listen. I don't necessarily know if Doechii would fit well on that one, but that's just a song that I think would connect. So it feels a little bit weird that we're getting this remix now, and I just really wish that we saved a Weeknd and Doechii collaboration for a song and a remix that feels worthwhile. But that is the Timeless remix. And to wrap up our New Music Friday highlights, we're talking Calvin Harris's new single, Blessings, featuring Clementine Douglas. Here is a quick snippet of it.
No looking back this time.
So yes, Calvin Harris is right back in his mid-2010s bag, pulling out a chilled EDM banger. Is this song anything revolutionary? No. Are the vocals kind of nice? Yeah, in my opinion, they are. Clementine Douglas is a relatively unheard of new artist. She has been a feature on a few other EDM dance songs, but this is kind of the high profile release she's had yet. Calvin Harris's song Slide back from 2017 is one of the best songs of the summer ever. Hearing that song immediately just makes you think of summer. So now trying to recapture that same flame makes a lot of sense, because his follow-up album to 2017's Funk Volume 1, I don't remember what the exact Funk Bounce Volume 1. I don't remember the exact name. The follow-up was Volume 2, and it was bad, like really bad. And this is not even his first release of 2024. He released a song called Smoke the Pain Away that kind of combined country and dance, which on paper makes a lot of sense because country music is blowing up, but it didn't necessarily make any kind of splash. Kind of a weird time to be Calvin Harris. I am excited to see if this song connects and has longevity. So I'm curious to know what you guys are thinking of Blessings, the new Timeless remix, More to Lose by Miley Cyrus. So make sure you sound off in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking about these new songs. And this week's big music news pretty much surrounds Miley Cyrus's new single, the Timeless remix, Lorde announcing her new tour, which is called the Ultrasound Tour, that is going to support her upcoming album Virgin, which drops June 27th. That just happened the other day. And the only other big piece of music news that's really hitting my mind right now as I'm sitting here is that Renee Rapp is actually teasing brand new music for the first time in years. Renee Rapp is an artist who I've been watching closely for the last few years. She starred as Regina George in the Mean Girls movie that came out a year or two ago. Her debut album, Snow Angel from 2023, is so unbelievably good. This girl's voice is spectacular. If you haven't checked out Snow Angel, I highly recommend you do so. The song's Pretty Girls, the title track Snow Angel, all really, really special moments. Her voice is truly one that will send chills up your entire spine. So I'm very excited to see what kind of lane she chooses to go down for this sophomore effort. But that is a very quick roundup of music news. I want to make sure that we get to the conversation with Nick Fry as soon as possible because it's a really, really good one. I know you guys are going to love it. So without any further ado, here is Nick Fry and I ranking your 10 out of 10 no skip albums. All right, Nick, welcome to Live from Mars.
Thanks, Alex. Happy to be here. Thanks for
I'm
having me.
thrilled to have you here. I know we've been talking about doing this. I don't even know for how long, and I'm so pumped.
Long overdue.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, it's awesome
Me
to have
too.
you here.
Thank
In
you.
case you're not familiar with Nick, Nick is a fellow content creator who works in the music journalism space on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, where else you can find him. He's everywhere.
Yep.
He is someone who I've been following. I actually, right before we started recording, I was scrolling back through our TikTok DMs to see when we started.
It's probably been a while.
It was January 2023. And the kicker is that the very first time we talked was when I posted a video about like my hot take on Lover and how it is what did I called it? I called it a bottom tier Taylor Swift album. And the hate that I got was insane, but you DM'd me and you were like, can you turn on your stitches? Because I completely agree with you and I want to speak on this too.
I remember now.
Yeah, and like I had turned them off because someone made a video like stitching mine and it did way better than my video did. So I'm like, no stitches. But then you came around and it's been on since. So very thrilled to have you here. Thank you for coming. I want to give you a chance to intro yourself, tell everyone a little bit about your story, what you do, and how you've gotten to where you are now.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it, Alex. I'm Nick Fry, also known as Nick's Music Taste. I started my brand, Nick's Music Taste, in September 2021. Really started to get things going though with it in like the back half of 2023. I'm doing my thing still, staying busy, listening to music, trying to always discover more, man. Just discover more great music. That's always been my goal, and to share it. That's my mission.
I mean, you've shared a ton with me. I mean, the breadth of music that you listen to is probably the most of any fellow content creator that I engage with on a regular basis. Like the range in taste that you have is so inspiring to me because I feel like I'm so centered around like my main pop stars as the area that I've been following and tracking for 15 plus years. And to see like you recommending a metal album, but then having Magdalena Bay, but then loving like Carly Rae Jepsen's Emotion. It's just such a wide array of music.
Thank you.
So Nick and I are here today to play a little game that I teased in last week's episode of Live from Mars, where a video that I posted, I want to say a month ago, was posing the question, what is a no skip 10 out of 10 album? And a lot of you chimed in, some very similar repeated answers and then some completely out of left field answers, was so interesting to me that I knew I had to get Nick on this episode to sit down with me and go through your 10 out of 10 albums. And I figure we'll bounce off each other. I will go through a list of the most commonly submitted answers and we'll give you our answer. Is your favorite album, is your 10 out of 10 album, in our opinion, a 10 out of 10 album?
Well, I'm
And
excited.
yeah, it's gonna be fun because we have overlapping music tastes in some areas,
Definitely.
but then I know for a fact that some of these on here we're going to disagree with, and I can't wait to
Dude.
go through it. And obviously, as you guys hear our takes, none of this is invalidating. If you think that this is the 10 out of 10 album, this is purely my opinion, Nick's opinion. Everyone has an opinion, and that's okay. And I guess we'll kick off with my personal 10 out of 10 album is Folklore by Taylor Swift. And I was saying to Nick before we hit record that I feel like I'm very harsh on music. Like it takes a lot for me to pick an album that is truly a 10 out of 10. So there isn't a single song that I would skip on it. There's no part of it that irritates me to the point that like I would choose not to listen to it. And Folklore is one album in my mind that is a 10 out of 10. So that is what I originally posted on TikTok. And I want to give you, Nick, a chance to respond to my take and let me know what your thoughts are on Folklore.
Okay. Yes. I don't think an album needs to be a 10 out of 10 to be a no skip album. Like I have plenty of 9s, like 9 out of 10s that I would say are completely no skip. 10s just have that feeling in your soul. I have 14 or 15 and it's just a different feeling. In terms of Folklore, I gave that a 10 for about 2 years and
Whoa.
just in the past, I think year bumped it down to a 9, but it was mostly because I didn't come back to it as much anymore and it started to kind of just, it wasn't losing its magic. It will never do that. It's beautiful folk. It's incredible, but they're not skips, but they are, in my opinion, slightly lower. I don't want to say lower quality because it's such a good album. It almost feels so disrespectful. But Mad Woman, most of the album is on the same quality, in my opinion. I would say it's a top 25, 30 album ever made. Like that's,
Wow.
I'm ride or die for Folklore. Like I really am.
Hell
So
yeah.
this is just me if I'm being super critical. But
That's what we're here for. Bring it.
yes,
I'm
exactly.
gonna be the same way.
Mad Woman has always kind of been the one that's just kind of like, I dig it, but it's just not quite. What do you think about Mad Woman though? Like,
I like Mad Woman, but that has always been one that I've grouped with Epiphany, where
mhm,
the second half of the album is definitely not as strong as the first half of the album.
yeah,
But the only two songs that I would maybe not listen to every single time I listen to Folklore are Mad Woman and Epiphany. So I understand where you're coming from. But like you were saying before, how a 10 out of 10 album doesn't necessarily mean there is no skips. To
yes,
me, Folklore is a 10 out of 10 album. But I can understand, and myself, I may not listen to Mad Woman or Epiphany every single time I listen to Folklore. I'm glad we're aligned there for the most part.
yes, 1 for 1.
All right. Here's one that I know that you love that I'm curious to hear you explain why, and then convince me why this is a full on 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Emotion by Carly Rae Jepsen.
Okay. Long story short, Emotion completely changed my perspective of everything in music. I went to the gym one day. I didn't have my headphones. I had forgotten them at home. I heard I Really Like You playing in the gym speakers, and I was like, I feel like I've heard this before and it sounds really good. I Shazammed it, found out it was Carly, saw that the album kind of had like rave reviews, and I was like, whoa, like why have I never heard of this? And I remembered Call Me Maybe, and I was really interested. So I went home, gave the album my full attention, and it's one of like maybe like 3 or 4 albums I've ever given a 10 on first listen, man. I was just
Wow.
the melodies, the production, I was floored. I still am floored. This was like 4 years ago now, maybe. And there's just something about it. Carly's voice, she's my favorite female vocalist ever.
Really?
I love Carly's voice. And I know that she's not the most talented by any means, but there's just something about like the airiness, like she can hit notes, man. Like she's underrated in that sense. That's one of my favorite albums ever. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't say I would give this a 10 out of 10 because there are songs that I don't necessarily return to much, but
Mhm.
I understand completely where you're coming from.
Which
There's the
ones?
songs on here that I love are like
Huh?
songs that I truly think are 10 out of 10 songs. I just don't return to the deeper cuts that I just don't keep in rotation. Run Away With Me, one of the best album openers in pop music over the last 25 years. You
Dude,
get
yeah.
Emotion, the title track. I heard Emotion the other day and I was just like, wow, like this is a perfect song.
Dude,
It's
it
so good.
is. It is a masterpiece.
Making the Most of the Night.
Everything about that album is just spot on. Everything I want in pop, honestly.
Right. And I think that she's an interesting one because everyone was really introduced to Carly through Call Me Maybe, obviously. And this was the defining hit of the last decade. So when you hear that and you hear a song that I don't want to call it generic, but call it like an earworm made for chart success hit, that you kind of invalidate the artist's artistry. And Emotion did such a good job of showing that she actually had a lot more to her. Dedicated, I actually enjoy a ton. Julian, Happy Not Knowing is so good. And then on the last two albums, The Loneliest Time, Bad Thing Twice. I'm looking through this right now. The Loveliest Time, Psychedelic Switch.
But yeah, the Psychedelic Switch is such a banger, dude.
It's so good. Here, I'm going to put a little snippet of it in so that way you guys can hear it.
It's like a psychedelic switch. Don't wake me 'cause I'm lucid dreaming, meditating on your lips. 'Cause baby, I'll be satisfied.
Yeah, that one just like does it for me every single time I hear it. It's like Carly's little rave moment.
No. Yeah, it needs some more of that, huh?
I know.
I would love some more of that.
Right.
That would be great because, yeah, she definitely has a knack for it.
So a lot of you sent in albums that were all by a certain artist. I'm just going to say the artist name, and I want to know from you if you had to pick a 10 out of 10 album from this artist,
Ooh.
which it would be. The
Fun,
artist
okay.
is Beyonce.
Ooh, okay. Definitely 10 out of 10. Dude, if you would have asked me a few months ago, I probably would have said Lemonade, but it might be Renaissance now. I don't listen to Beyonce a whole lot, not as much as like probably like you or like people watching, but I do get like she has several albums that I give like I think 8 or 9. Like she's made some masterpieces for sure. But right now, I'd probably lean Renaissance. But Lemonade is also just that emotionally potent, just devastation, crazy album. So yeah, I'd probably lean Renaissance. What about you?
So the ones that people sent in were 4 Beyonce self-titled, Lemonade, Renaissance, and Cowboy Carter.
Man.
4 is not a 10 out of 10 album. I don't think 4 is a 10 out of 10 album. And I say that because do you agree or are you like, no, you're crazy?
No, it's definitely not.
Yeah. I think that like some of her best songs are on 4, but there are songs that are just not as memorable up there. And listen, like we said in the beginning, everyone defines what a 10 out of 10 album is slightly differently. I think you and I are aligned that there can be a 10 out of 10 album in your opinion based on the memories you have, the emotion you attach to it, the feeling you get listening to a song that may not technically, critically be a killer perfect song on a perfect album. But then there are people who are like a 10 out of 10 album has to be every single song is a 10.
Yeah.
And if we're looking at it from that perspective, there are songs on 4 that are not 10 out of 10s. I'm thinking like Start Over, Best Thing I Never Had for some reason just never sat with me.
Yeah.
1+1. Anytime an artist brings math into a song, it's an immediate no for me. The other one that really pissed me off was Olivia Rodrigo's, what's it called?
It rings a bell on Guts.
Yeah, 2 + 2 = 5, and I'm the one.
Yeah.
What is it called?
I can't remember. I can look it up real quick. Logical. Okay, good call.
Yeah. So that answers someone who submitted Guts as a 10 out of 10 album. That is a no for me. But
yeah,
it's a good one for sure.
Do you like Sour or Guts more? What team are you on?
Guts by far.
Yeah, me too.
I think Sour is a really, really incredible debut album. I think a lot of songs blend together, but the fact that she, as a 17-year-old, was writing in that way is mesmerizing. Guts to me is taking all of the strengths of Sour and just bringing it to the next level. I mean, like A Bad Idea, right? Making the Bad I Loved, Vampire. Like, there's a lot of great moments on Guts, and the more languid, like slower, more forgettable moments that are on Sour don't carry over for Guts. To me. What do you think?
No, I definitely agree. I think that Bad Idea Right is her best song. I've said that for a while. And I actually don't see too many people happy about that when I say that. I don't know what you think. If you think that's a hot take or is that
I don't think it's a crazy take.
yeah.
It's not my like number one pick from her, but I don't think it's a crazy take. I
Yeah,
think
that
people have a hard time associating any song that is a big single or a
mhm,
song that gets a commercial treatment with being critically valid.
yeah.
That's an issue that I've had with pop music fans and just like music critics as a whole. That
Yeah.
just because a song is chosen as a single and receives a huge treatment and ends up being this chart success doesn't
Mhm.
invalidate the fact that it's still a really good song.
Exactly. That is yeah, preach, bro.
Yeah, like
So
the
true.
reason why it's working so well, like a song that
Mhm.
someone mentioned that Birds of a Feather is
Yeah.
like a bad Billie Eilish song. I'm like, this is,
What?
yeah, like this is quite possibly one of the best written pop songs of this decade so far,
Yeah,
and her biggest hit ever.
exactly. Say you're not a Billy fan without saying it. I mean, literally.
Because it just sounds so different from anything that she had done up until that point. But what I've been harping on with the music that I'm consuming is that I'm looking at this point from these quote unquote like legacy artists. And I'm not saying that to say like an artist is old. I say it in the way that means they're established and their sound is already distinguishable at this point.
I got
So
you.
with an artist like Billy, an artist like Taylor,
Mhm.
the songs of theirs that I gravitate towards now are the songs that don't sound anything like what they've done before and something
Yeah.
that feels more unique. And Birds of a Feather is completely unique to Billy's discography. There is not a single other song that sounds anything like it. And
Mhm.
that to me is showing that they're still evolving as musicians. They're still trying out new things and taking on risks. And
Yep.
that is what keeps me as a fan interested.
Yeah. Absolutely agree. Birds of
Yeah.
a Feather is a modern classic.
So back to Beyonce, I think Renaissance, I don't disagree with you. I think that this is like the closest one to being a 10 out of 10. And this goes back to the definition that we coined about how an album doesn't necessarily need to be every single song a 10 out of 10, but the album, the feeling you get from it is a 10 out of 10. Renaissance is exactly in that corner because there are songs on Renaissance, really only two that I don't love and return to, but every other song is just hit after hit after hit after
It's
hit.
just a
And
party, isn't it? It's just a
yeah,
dang party.
walk me through your thoughts on Renaissance.
I mean, song Virgo's Groove, that is
Mm,
like one of her best songs. I thought Break My Soul kind of falls into the line of like what we were saying, just because it's a smash hit doesn't mean that it's bad. But I thought Break My Soul was justifiably an amazing hit. The intro, I'm That Girl, comes out swinging. I think that
mm.
is absolutely so powerful and fun, just gets you right into the album right away. I would say it's a no skip album. I would say Renaissance is definitely a no skip album, but I probably give it a probably solid 8 out of 10. Songs like Thick, I'm not too high on Thick, but it's good. What do you think?
I got eaten alive for that exact comment when
Really?
I was doing best worst fave like two,
Whoa.
3 years ago when I
Yeah?
did Renaissance. I think I said that, I think I said Thick was the worst song on the album. And people were like, are you insane? Are you well? And the
You're gonna
answer
get
is
that for every
no,
song.
I'm not well. But
Yeah, I guess you and me both.
yeah, like again, first half of the album stronger than the second, but there are songs that I just don't play every single time I listen to the album. But fortunately, the fact that Renaissance is curated to flow seamlessly for the most part from start to finish, the
Yeah.
songs that I don't really care for are the ones that break that. And those are really like Church Girl, I know people are obsessed with, but I just don't return to that one as often. And then Move and Thick are really the only three that I don't listen to every single time.
Get that move is yeah, I get that for sure.
But other people, so we talked about four. Self-titled Beyonce, in my opinion, is again not a perfect 10 out of 10. I think that it is like an 8 or a 9. I think I would agree with you around there. If there is a Beyonce album to me that brings that 10 out of 10 magic feeling, it's Lemonade.
Ooh, see, yeah, I get it, man. Lemonade. Honestly, you ask me on tomorrow, my answer might be Lemonade, man. It just depends. I get it. I get it. What's your favorite song?
God, that's hard because so many of these are timeless.
I know. I'm looking at the track list too.
Will never forget watching the premiere of this on HBO and hearing Pray You Catch Me and just
I-
melting.
Dude.
It's between Don't Hurt Yourself and Freedom.
Ooh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Freedom. is
is
mine,
incredible,
dude.
but like that one's really had its moment between Kamala's presidential campaign, now being on tour each time, and
Wow.
then Don't Hurt Yourself, going back to what I was saying with Taylor or Billy, songs that
Mhm.
don't sound anything like songs that the artist had made at that point.
Yeah.
Don't Hurt Yourself with Jack White. Oh,
Yeah.
please.
That is an insane song. Yeah.
Filthy.
Yeah. And yeah, having Jack White was just such an interesting choice, but what a perfect decision.
Yeah. And then people also forget that The Weeknd is on this album.
I don't
Like,
I
what?
don't no 6 inch,
Six
dude.
in?
Legendary.
So
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. I definitely don't forget.
Yeah. We'll move on from Beyonce because there's a bunch of others I want to get through.
Okay.
Here's one that I think people are going to be surprised by the answers to. Anti by Rihanna. Is Anti by Rihanna a 10 out of 10 album?
Okay, so my story with Anti, I've only heard it, I think, 2 times, and the first time I posted a reaction video to on
Why?
TikTok, and I didn't enjoy it. Fell flat for me. But this was years ago. It would probably be worth revisiting.
Definitely worth revisiting.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was about it. I think I'm nervous saying this, but I don't think I've ever been too high on Rihanna as a vocalist.
That's fair.
Yeah, she's good, man, but not just doesn't do it enough to where I want to return. But Anti, I know that a lot of people say that's like her best or one of her best, and I've heard it, but I think I gave it like a 4, dude. But I don't remember.
Damn, I think this is the first one that we're like really different on.
You love it?
I love this album
Yeah.
so much. I have, I think, 2 or 3 different copies of it on vinyl. I
Same.
also remember the first time I listened to Anti, and I was so caught off guard because for so long, Rihanna had established herself as the go-to hit maker for a dance pop song with
Mhm.
like everything on loud, Only Girl in the World, S&M, Where Have You Been, We Found Love, and Umbrella. Like the list goes on. And then when she came with Anti, which was quite literally the antithesis of everything she had established for herself musically,
Mhm.
I was so thrown off and was like, what am I listening to? I waited 4 years for this.
Yeah.
And then once I got past that initial shock of hearing something I was so much not expecting,
Yeah.
I fell in love. I absolutely fell in
Wow.
love. Listen, is it a 10 out of 10 perfect album? No, it's not. There are songs on it that I do not think are good. There are songs on it that I actually find annoying. The biggest of which are Woo and Pose, which
Yes.
are in a similar world. So that shouldn't come as a huge surprise. But like Kiss It Better, that electric guitar on Kiss It Better, just
I think my
woke
girlfriend
something in me.
loves that song. If I'm
That
not.
one is incredible.
Yeah.
And then you have other like Love on the Brain. Yeah, I
That's a
said
good
it.
song.
Desperado. Same Old Mistakes, her cover of the Tame Impala song.
Oh yeah, that is another. I see. It would probably be worth re-listening to, and the way you were describing it, honestly, you got away with the words, man. You got me wanting to re-listen to
Boy.
this album that I used to not enjoy. Apparently, I don't really remember, but
You have to get over the fact that it's not a typical Rihanna album.
Mhm.
And framing it with the lens of this is Rihanna making an artistic statement, the same way that Beyonce kind of shifted her whole vision from four to self-titled.
yeah,
This was Rihanna doing that and doing something that felt bolder and more experimental. And granted, for the time, like there was no song on pop radio that sounded anything like Work, bringing dance hall into it, or opening with
Yeah.
Consideration and like SZA being on Consideration.
Mhm.
That was the first time I had heard of SZA, and now look where she is.
Yeah,
So
seriously.
this is one I can't say it's a 10 out of 10, but it's definitely Rihanna's best album. People threw in some Lana albums. There were 3 in particular. I'll let you pick which of the 3 you think is a 10 out of 10 or closest to it. Born to Die, Ultraviolence, Norman fucking Rockwell.
Okay, for a long while, it was Ultraviolence. NFR has definitely passed it, though. That is, like, really moved up the ladder for me. But I still, not to get off topic on those 3 albums, but I still think that Ocean Boulevard is her best work. I still think that is,
Really?
yeah, I've since that thing came out, and yeah, it's just had this massive weight over me. I love it. But NFR 9 out of 10, Violence probably 9 out of 10, Born to Die probably like 7. What do you think? I saw some maybe disagreement. I don't know.
Norman Rockwell is, in my opinion, her best album.
Mhm.
I think I would agree with you on like a 9.5. Ultraviolence definitely, I think, is number 2 for me in my Lana album ranking. Born
Mhm.
to Die, I look back more favorably on than I think some do, including you.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
this is just like what introduced me to Lana. And when you're
Mhm,
looking at the impact that Lana Del Rey has had on the sound of pop music and music culture, this
mhm.
is what started it all. And yeah,
Yeah,
like he's definitely made better music and better albums since then. But when you look
mhm,
at what kind of established the blueprint for Lana-isms throughout music in the next 15 years, this is the source. Like this is the
absolutely.
grail of it.
Her evolution has been something, and she's not slowing down, which is
No.
exciting.
What is it about Ocean Boulevard to you that takes it over NFR?
Just the deeply personal stuff. It just seems like the most like therapy session, particularly A&W. The Grants never fails to make me cry. I can like barely talk about that song without being moved to tears. That song means a lot to me. But yeah, it's just it's dreary, but it's beautiful and it's honest and it's sad. And I know that could describe kind of a lot of her discography, but
Right.
it just has this feeling to it that just resonates with me and has since it released that just sticks and
Yeah.
really hits on just a higher emotional plane.
Yeah.
But
I get that.
that's yeah, for
I
sure.
get that. Okay, let's do a little speed round because I want to get
Okay,
your hot takes on a bunch of these.
let's go.
Short and sweet, Sabrina Carpenter.
I'm gonna
Is it a 10
say
out of 10 album?
no, it's not a 10 out of 10, but I would probably say there's no skips. Pretty much enjoy every track. So
Yeah, I agree. A Blackout by Britney Spears.
not a 10. I'm not too high on it, honestly. It's good, but I never come back to it. Do you love it? I think you love it, don't you?
That is my other 10 out of 10 album.
I felt like I remembered that once I said it. I was like, oh shoot.
Those were the two that I said in the like when I did the last episode of the podcast. And part of it is the emotional response to it. The other part is just being a freaking huge Britney Spears fan. And that's like
Yeah.
who I grew up with as my pop superstar. And
Mhm.
Blackout, the lore behind it, and how during the most difficult point in her entire life, she executive produced this album for the first time and made her magnum opus. And the way that it's since impacted pop music, like
Mhm.
you would not have Lady Gaga without Blackout and the sound of Blackout influencing her direction.
For sure.
Charlie and Brat, like the impact that this one has had, similar to a Born to Die kind of thing.
It is nuts though. The production is something else. And I think I heard it before I got into pop years ago. And so that might have played a role in why I was like, whoa, like I don't know how I feel about this. I didn't think negatively, I know. But that's another like that's another I should revisit.
Yeah, for sure. Future nostalgia, Dua Lipa.
Not a 10 out of 10, but pretty high on my like 2020s pop albums list for sure. I'd say no skips.
I would say there's a skip or two.
Ooh, what do you think?
The last two songs.
Good and bad, boys will be boys?
Yep.
Or vice versa?
Yep.
Or,
I think
yeah,
1 through 9 is perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. Perfect, perfect. I even like the opener, Future Nostalgia. It didn't necessarily hit with me until I saw her do it live. But then when you see it live, but then you have Don't Start Now, Levitating, Love Again,
Dude.
Break My Heart, Pretty Please, Physical. I mean, it's just
It's quite a run.
smash after smash after smash.
Yeah.
Again, wouldn't call it a 10 out of 10. I'd probably give it a 9, but
Mhm.
like it's there. Harry's House. Is Harry's House a 10 out of 10 album? And
No, Harry's House is not a 10 in my opinion.
okay.
What do you
In
think?
my No, it's not a 10, but it's definitely up there for me. It's
Okay.
it sits with me very well because it came out the weekend. I did a 2-week solo trip to Italy in 2022, and it
Mhm.
came out like when I got to Rome. And I
Oh,
remember just getting one of those like Lime electric scooters and driving around the city listening to that album on repeat.
you were living
And
the dream.
it was like a truly magical moment. But then
Yeah.
I remember that a song like Boyfriends is there.
Yeah.
And the other one that people go crazy on me hating is Matilda. Like those two more somber moments don't work for
Yeah.
me. So
Yeah.
I can't give it a 10, but it's definitely up there for me.
Yep. I hear you.
The Fame Monster, Lady Gaga.
Not a 10, but very good. Very good.
Let's see. I need to look at this track list one more time. I was looking at this one actually before we started recording. Fame Monster.
Let me look too.
Bad Romance, Alejandro, Monster, Speechless, Dance in the Dark, Telephone, So Happy I Could Die, Teeth. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this is a 10 out of 10 album.
I totally respect it. And honestly, her best album, you think?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I would agree.
I don't know. I go so back and forth between that and Born This Way. I think Born This Way has more grit to it. The songs on Born This Way that I love more than the songs on Fame Monster, but the songs that I dislike on Born This Way, I dislike more than those on Fame Monster, if that
I
makes
hear
sense.
you.
Like kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
like end up evening out. Dance in the Dark, Speechless, Filthy.
Yeah.
Someone said Chromatica.
From what I remember, I liked it. It's just
I
been
did
a
too.
while. Yeah,
I
it's
liked it
been
a
a
lot.
while.
Not a 10 out of 10, but up there. It
Yeah.
would get a high score.
What year did that come out? That was like
2020.
early. Yeah, that sounds right.
That is actually the album that is the reason why I'm sitting here right now. Because
Oh.
I was living back at home during the pandemic, and I had always loved writing. I had always loved reading album reviews, and I remember listening to Chromatica, and a lot of the things that I was catching were the
Mhm.
same things that then these music critics were writing in their reviews. And I'm like, like if I'm catching on to this stuff, like let me try it on my own. So I
Dude,
wrote a review for
cool.
Chromatica and sent it around to some friends, and they really thought it was great. And I then made a blog, like reviews by Mars, and
Mhm.
that was how the Mars brand actually started. But
Yeah.
Chromatica is the reason why I am doing this today.
That's very cool to know. That's legendary. I actually really appreciate that lore. That's
Yeah.
a cool backstory, man.
Not a lot of people know that, but now they do.
Now it's out.
That's the one. It's not a 10 out of 10 album, but that's the reason why you're always sitting here. So,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
right. Let's keep going through these.
All
Thank
right.
you next, Ariana Grande.
My girlfriend and I always go back and forth on Ariana. She's a pretty big Ariana Grande fan. I like her. She's incredibly talented. Full album, not my full album project artist. She's not one of my favorites. Every album has like some filler for sure in my opinion. But Thank You Next, it's solid. What do you think?
I always said that it was her best album. There is a song or two that I don't care for, so I can't call it a 10 out of 10. I would say it is her best album, but recently, really since Eternal Sunshine came out, that may overtake it for me. I don't know if that's like a crazy hot take, but
No.
I can't get enough of that album.
Yeah, Eternal Sunshine is actually pretty good. I didn't really enjoy it as much at first, but the more I came back to it, it's consistent and it's solid, dude. I like it.
Right. This is one that I know that we're both going to agree on.
Okay.
Melodrama by Lorde. Just hold up
Dude.
your shirt. Give everyone else.
Let's go. Melodrama. Yeah,
Even
absolutely.
though your shirt, I believe, is for solar power.
Yes, it is. Yes, it's a solar power shirt. But Melodrama, yeah, that's actually one of my like 15 tens. That's one of the ones.
Yep.
It's up there for me.
I guess I have more than 1 or 2 10 out of 10s because I agree with you.
Yep.
10 out of 10. Melodrama
Yes.
is a 10 out of 10 pop album.
Yes, it is.
Solar power.
Yeah, have you ever been on Team Solar Power that much or no? Not never.
No.
Dang.
I liked.
No.
Okay. I liked the title track. I liked The Path. I liked California, Stoned at the Nail Salon, Secrets from a Girl,
Yes.
Mood Ring, and that's it. Brat. Is Brat a 10 out of 10 album?
No. I'm not even too big of a Charlie fan. I love How I'm Feeling Now though. I enjoyed Brat, but for Charlie, for me, it's the vocals. Sometimes it's just a little too robotic
I get that.
for me. But Brat is fun. It's a good time, but not a 10
Yeah,
to me.
I agree with you. I don't think it's a 10 out of 10. What is another album of yours that is a 10 out of 10?
Most recently, it's Imaginal Disc by Magdalena Bay. Right before pandemic started, my buddy put me on them when they didn't even have an album out yet. They've been one of my favorite artistic evolutions I've witnessed just because I think Imaginal Disc is like flat out one of the best pop albums ever made and it's less than a year old. You've heard it, I think, right? Yeah, you've heard it. It's just something else, dude, and no one is making music like that in pop or anywhere.
It was not what I was expecting when you said you were going to give a pop one, but it is pop music, but it's
Yeah,
so
that's
different
true.
than the pop music that we've spoken about and that
Mhm.
I normally define as pop because it
True.
has that electronic tinge to it.
Mhm.
I haven't really returned to it, but I feel like that's one that I owe you a revisiting on.
Same for you with the Anti or
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Blackout.
let you forget that one.
Blackout is definitely the more higher priority, isn't it?
I
Than
would
Anti.
say so, yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Definitely.
Yeah, but Imaginal Disc, in terms of any other pop, this is a different like type of pop, but Heaven or Las Vegas, Cocteau Twins, Dream
I've
Pop.
never heard it.
Shoot. Well, it's not like pop like when you think of like Britney Spears. It's like it's dream pop. What about you? Like, I know you said you only had like folklore, but maybe like just an album you love that maybe I have not heard. If there's
That is a
anything
great
there.
question. Albums that I just love are Black Bear by Andrew Bell. It's like indie pop. It just like scratches some itch in my brain.
Yeah.
I love his sound. I love his music. Black Bear is just the album that feels most cohesive to me. Madion's Adventure. Like, I
Wow.
just have never felt more comforted by a body of work
Yeah.
other than Folklore. Like, I've always said like my top 3 favorite albums of all time are Adventure, Folklore, and Blackout. So
Wow.
that is like the
Holy
trifecta.
Trinity.
That is the Holy Trinity. That's the word I was looking for. Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on. I know
Thank
this will
you.
not be the last time you are here,
No, yeah, I'd love
and
to
I'm
come back.
glad we
Thank
were
you.
finally able to make it work. This
Me
was so
too.
much fun. And
Yeah.
where can people find you if they want to check you out after this?
Yeah. At Nick's Music Taste on everything. You got TikTok, YouTube, X, Twitter, whatever you call it, Instagram. So yeah,
Hell yeah.
I'm all over.
Awesome.
At Nick's Music Taste. Thank you.
Well, thank you again. I really appreciate you coming on. If you
Thanks,
are not
Alex.
already following and subscribed to the podcast Live from Mars, make sure you do so. It means the absolute world to me. And I will see you all next week for another new episode. Bye, guys.